You're at a bar, cold glass in your hand. Second time this month you've run into this guy. You remember his dog, old, white around the muzzle. You remember he mentioned his parents splitting up, almost offhand. You even remember the tone, dry, like he was describing someone else's broken radiator. But his name, gone. Not at the tip of your tongue, just absent, like it was never filed anywhere in the first place. So you smile a little wider than usual. Oh hey, good to see you. A little louder than you need to be. While he's talking, you're already running a quiet search in the background, scanning for a word he might drop, something that'll save you from having to ask. That moment stretches. On the outside, everything's fine. Inside, you're somewhere else entirely, flipping through your own internal archive with no card for him. And later, walking home when his name just appears under a shop light, you'll turn it over for a second, quietly, the way you always do. If you recognized yourself, stay with me. This isn't going to tell you that you just have a rich memory. It's going to say something else. The kind version of the truth goes like this. The brain doesn't sort things into important and unimportant. It sorts them into meaningful and arbitrary. A name is arbitrary. It doesn't smell like anything. It doesn't carry weight. It doesn't tell a story. So the brain drops it first, like dead weight on a long hike. What stays is the actual person, the way he moves, his tone, that one detail about the dog. In that sense, you didn't fail. You just kept what your system decided mattered. That's true, but only to a point, because there's another side to this, one that gets clearer if you're honest about it. While you were tracking all those internal notes, his tiredness, the low-grade sadness underneath, the way his voice shifts when he talks about work, you were quietly doing one thing. You were stepping back. You weren't in the conversation anymore. You were observing it, careful, perceptive, but separate. And a name isn't just a label. It's the one point where someone isn't being observed. They're being met. That's exactly why it drops first. You don't forget names because you're deep. You forget them because in the moment when the name should land, you're not there. You're in your head, analyzing, feeling, cataloging. Your rich inner life makes you a brilliant witness to other people's lives and a very careful participant. Here's what doesn't get said enough. When a name goes, it's not only the name that goes, it's a small thread, the kind the other person could have reached for to pull you back into the room. Because names are how people call you back. They're how you get summoned into a specific moment, a specific exchange, something that's meant for just you. If you don't know his name, you can't call him back either, not when it matters. You'll be a great listener, but you won't be the person he turns to and asks, "You still with me?" Then there's the loop. Because your own anxiety gets woven into this. One time you blank on a name and feel that small sting of embarrassment, and the next introduction you walk into already braced. I'm probably going to forget this. And you do. Not because your memory failed, because your attention already left for the worry before the name even arrived. Psychologists call this the next in line effect. When someone is busy preparing what they'll say next, they barely hear the thing said right before. You've been in that line your whole life. Next move, next response, next chance to not mess this up again. While you're queuing, the name walks right past, like the station announcement you missed because you were already 3 stops ahead in your head. Now here's the part that matters. This didn't start with you as an adult. This kind of wiring usually gets set early. Maybe there was someone whose mood you had to read before it landed on you. A parent with a short fuse. An older brother, unpredictable, sharp. A mother whose emotional weather you learned to track by how a kettle got set down, how a cabinet got closed. You grew up mastering one thing, reading people before they speak, decoding tone, catching the tension before it breaks. It kept you safe, and it taught you something that your nervous system still operates by. Scan first, then, if there's room, show up. The adult brain doesn't unlearn that easily. It runs the same program, just in nicer clothes. When someone new stands in front of you, you're not listening for their name, you're listening for their register. Everything else is background. The name gets lost in the signal. And here's the part that's quiet but uncomfortable. It's not just that you're attentive, it's that this can become a way of keeping everyone at a slight distance. A name is a point of accountability. If you know someone's name and use it, You've acknowledged them as a separate, real person with their own edges. You've stepped toward them instead of staying beside your observation post. A nervous system that spent years learning to stay slightly back tends to resist exactly that movement, so "I'm just bad with names" stops being a charming quirk. It becomes a small signal, not about memory, about presence, about the fact that you were in your internal processing again instead of the live exchange. Every dropped name isn't a gap, it's a trace. The fix looks different from what you'd expect. It's not a mnemonic. Not repeating the name 3 times, building an association, turning it into a technique. That's just more of the same. Another cognitive procedure. Another way to stay in the observer role, but now with tools. Nothing actually shifts. You just get better at performing presence. The real move is simpler and harder. In the moment someone says, "My name is," stay. Don't associate. Don't start the internal processing. Don't figure out who they remind you of. Just hear the name. Like you'd hear a single note, 1 second, where there's just them, just that name, and nothing else. This isn't a memory exercise. It's a small return from your own head back into the room. Do it a few times and something changes. Names start sticking, not because you worked at it, but because you were actually there when they arrived. And more than that, people start to feel a little closer. Not louder, not brighter, just closer, like someone removed a thin pane of glass between you and them. Glass you'd been holding there yourself. And that evening at the bar looks different. He walks over again, says your name, says his, and this time you don't go searching. You just hear it. A quiet moment, almost nothing. But it's the first time in a long time you're standing on this side of the conversation. You don't have a bad memory, you've just been living slightly off to the side of people. That's not a diagnosis, it's a habit, one that people probably loved in you more than they loved you for it. You can start to let it go now.